lovely Sunday. It's come to that time of the day where it's time to settle down, get snuggly, get cozy, ready for our bedtime story together. So maybe you want to grab a little cuddly toy. I've got Alfred the penguin who's going to sit and read the story with me today. Maybe you need to get a blanket, get cozy, make sure you're comfortable, and we're going to read a story together to end our week together. Now, which story shall we read together today? I'm going to have a look in my box of storybooks and pick one for us to read together. I think we'll go for The Storm That Stopped. Are you ready? Are you comfy? Let's read this story together. One day, long ago, Jesus was teaching people by the sea. Soon, some more people arrived, then others, then more, and more, until there were people everywhere. The crowds were just too big. Give me some room. We can't hear back here. Be quiet. I can't see. No one could see Jesus, and no one could hear Jesus. So Jesus asked his friends, the disciples, to push their boat out onto the water. He sat in the boat and the huge crowd spread out along the beach. Now they could all see and hear Jesus as he told them all about God. When he finished teaching the people, Jesus said to his friends, "Let's go over to the other side of the sea." Jesus had finished teaching the crowd, and now he had something to teach his friends, but they didn't know this yet. So they all jumped in the boat with him and set sail across the sea. Jesus was so tired. He'd been teaching the people all day. Can you imagine teaching people all day long? So he lay down in the back of the boat and fell fast asleep, like you and I are going to do soon. It was a quiet evening. The water gently lapped against the boat and the sun slowly set in the sky. Jesus was sleeping. The disciples were quietly talking. Then, all of a sudden, they were in the middle of the biggest, loudest, scariest, most ginormous storm that you could imagine. Can you see the waves and the lightning crashing near their boat? The wind blew hard, the waves grew huge, the water poured into the boat, but Jesus was asleep. The wind blew harder and the waves grew huger and the water filled the boat, but Jesus was still asleep. Look, can you hear them starting to shout to him? They're going, "Jesus, wake up, we're drowning, don't you care?" What a silly thing to say to Jesus. Of course he cared. He loved his friends so much that one day he was going to die for them. Jesus stood up in the boat. The wind was still blowing. The waves were bigger than ever. The water was pouring into the boat quicker than the disciples could tip it out again. The boat was sinking. You can see here they're starting to panic. They really think the boat is about to drown. But then Jesus did something amazing. He didn't help his friends pour the water out of the boat. He didn't help them try to row back to land. Jesus simply spoke. But he didn't speak to the disciples. He spoke to the storm, to the wind, and to the waves. "Quiet, be still." Just 3 little words, and the storm stopped. Right away, at that very moment, the sea was quiet, still, and calm. Then Jesus looked at his friends. "Why are you so afraid? Do you still not trust me?" But they were terrified, and they asked each other, "Who is this? Even the waves and wind do what he says." This is what Jesus wanted to teach them. He wanted them to know who he really is. The disciples already knew a lot about God from his special book. They knew that God made everything. He made the world, he made the sun and the moon and the stars, and he made the sea and the wind as well. They knew that only God can tell the sea what to do, that only God can tell the wind when to blow or the waves when to crash. Only God can do these things. But the disciples had just seen Jesus do the same things that God can do. So what is the answer to their question? Who is Jesus? Jesus is God. You can see his hands holding everything here, including the disciples in the boat. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story, kids. And I'm just going to pray for you quickly as you're about to go into your week. Maybe you've got school, maybe you've got some other things coming up. But I just want to pray quickly over you before you go to bed tonight. So why don't you put your hands together just to help us concentrate on praying. Alfred's going to join me as well. He can nearly put his hands together to pray. And I'm just going to pray a blessing over you. Jesus, I pray that every child watching would know that you are God. And I pray that this week, whatever they may be doing, whatever is in their week, whatever lessons they have or things that they need to do, that they would know that you are with them and that they can call to you for help at any time. And I ask these things in your name, Jesus. Amen. Have a great week, kids, and I'll see you next Sunday.